Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Handyman Graham, and today I'm going to show you how to get your security deposit back. So today we're in Alex's studio basement apartment, and we're just about to start a makeover with the rest of the team, but Alex had this wallpaper on the wall that was left behind by the previous tenant, and I thought this was a great opportunity to show you guys how to remove this wallpaper and get this wall back to normal, so your landlord won't even know there's wallpaper on the wall to begin with. So if you are feeling ambitious and inspired by Alexandra's content on her channel, and you want to put some peel and stick wallpaper on, I think it's just as important to know how to remove it as it is to apply it. The first thing I do whenever I'm working in my rental unit is I always put drop sheets down, because the last thing you want to do is damage the floor as you're trying to repair the wall. You can pick up a drop sheet from the dollar store for like $4, or you can use like old sheets or whatever you got. Put a bunch of old clothes on the ground or cardboard or something. The next thing we gotta do is remove all of the outlet plate covers. I'm sure the wallpaper is actually behind this cover, so in order to remove the wallpaper, we gotta remove these plates as well. I'm gonna start with this hairdryer. I got this from Valley Village, I think for like $6. I'm sure you already have a hairdryer at home. The hairdryer is like a little bit more of a gentle heat compared to a heat gun, which is just blasts fire at the wall. Like it's a little bit too hot, because while we want to loosen the adhesive on the wallpaper, we also don't want to damage the paint behind the wall. Peel and stick is a lot different than like traditional wallpaper and wallpaper paste. Wallpaper paste is like water soluble, so there's a whole other different way of removing traditional wallpaper than to removing peel and stick. So peel and stick can be paper or vinyl, and it usually has like a tacky adhesive that's attached to the back of the wallpaper. Sometimes it can transfer to the paint. So by loosening the adhesive with the hairdryer a little bit, hopefully it'll just peel right off the wall and it'll be like a nice clean surface. If there's adhesive left on the paint, it's not the end of the world, because we can remove it with some adhesive remover. I haven't done this before. Well, I have removed wallpaper before. It was the wallpaper in the office bathroom, but it kind of removed itself, so it was a pretty easy removal. This looks like it's been properly applied. They've watched Alexandra's videos. It's not bubbling up or anything. It's not like falling off the wall. So I'm just gonna go for it and see how it goes. So I'm starting in the top. I'm not starting in the middle. I'm starting at a place where it's already been like, you can already kind of like peel it off the wall a little bit. It's like a nice place where the corner you can kind of grab, and then you can kind of like go across. My method I'm using right now is I'm pulling the wallpaper not away from the wall, because I don't want to lift that paint off the wall. I'm pulling it kind of like parallel, I don't know how you describe it, kind of like down, like towards the floor. And I'm hitting the hairdryer on the adhesive on the back side, so that it kind of like hits the adhesive that's exposed. It is pulling a little bit of paint off, but that's okay, because we're going to show you how to patch and paint after. So this is a problem you're gonna probably come across as well. This here is like unsealed drywall compound, which you're always gonna find like on the edges, because that's where like the corner bead is. So this is kind of like expected. I'm not like too concerned here, but there's nothing really holding the paint to this dusty drywall compound. So that's why it's like peeling off pretty easily. You can even see all the pitting and stuff from the compound there. So I'm just gonna stop here. Because this is a small panel right here, there's a seam right here that's a little hidden. I'm gonna try peeling from down here, maybe go upwards, so that I don't continue tearing this paint off the wall. Don't worry if the wallpaper tears, because we're gonna destroy it anyways, but it's tearing right here because the paper backing is staying on the wall.
But that wall looks way
This
cleaner.
looks way better. So I'm gonna go up. If I keep tearing this, it may keep pulling the paint off, so I'm gonna kind of meet it up back up there. That's pretty good. Oh, it goes down to here. So I'm gonna pull this one down first. So I put a glove on because my thumb was burning. It is getting quite hot. I recommend like an oven mitt or a little work glove. Just remove like maybe like 1 square foot, and there's like 60. But you don't want to rush it. I think if I start rushing it is when I'll make a mistake. sorry. Honestly, not bad. Again, it's latex paint. And see how my fingers are dusty? If you're ever like patching stuff, like a hole in the wall or whatever, you always like wipe the wall with a damp cloth after you do it to remove as much dust as possible. So that when you paint on top of the dust, it doesn't trap the dust there because the paint just has nothing to stick to. So we're gonna keep going. Guarantee there's gonna be more little spots that we have to touch up. The areas that you're gonna find the majority of the issues with are gonna be on the edge of the ceiling, edges of the walls, and anywhere where there's like a change of plane with drywall. You really load up the amount of mud there to like smooth it out. So that's where you're gonna like have the most issue. So like the majority of this is gonna be easy, I hope. But the hairdryer is working really well, and the glove is protecting my thumb. Let's try it underneath. It's kind of like trapping the air, the hot air. Okay, I'm liking this method better. So I was doing this on top before, but I think it was heating the wall too much. So like this is just hitting the wallpaper, and it's kind of like you're like preheating it before you pull. So it's just making it a lot cleaner and like easier to tear. I'm not pulling out. I'm pulling like down. We have some more bubbles forming here. No offense to whoever did the work, but like just be sure to clean the walls and seal with primer before you paint. We're getting close to this electrical outlet, and just don't go near it, don't touch it. It's best just to keep your distance. If you're ever like concerned about the plate being off and exposed wires and all that sort of stuff, just turn the power off to the outlet. There's another bubble, but look, I'm just gonna push that in with my finger. Never happened. Nope. First panel's down, honestly, not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, I'm gonna do the same method for the other panels. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 panels left to do. I'm feeling pretty good about it so far. Okay, look at this. Yeah. Like I thought the middle of the wall would be a lot easier because you don't have as much drywall compound in the center of the wall as you do on the sides. So far so good. Here's a nail hole that just got exposed, so we're gonna have to patch that anyways. Another nail hole. You can like feel when the adhesive like loosens up, and then it just kind of like pulls a lot easier. Yeah, it's working. Like you can like almost like letting the hair dryer do the work. I'm just kind of like going back and forth.
It's really satisfying to watch.
Yeah, it's like if you want to learn how to put it up, just play the video in reverse. Not bad.
That was like 5 minutes.
Yeah, not bad. And yeah, you can see there's a patch right here. A nice little tip is to just take like a little knife or something and just kind of like peel the corner up a little bit. And then it just gives you a nice little starting point. Start small. I'm kind of like making it tense. And it's trapping the heat and it's making it so much easier. Oh, look. I noticed that starting from the top going to the bottom works a lot easier just because you're kind of using your weight to like kind of pull it down as well. Whereas like this is just kind of hard because you're pulling up and it's just a lot more exerting than pulling from the top down. That panel didn't have any issues. Yeah, the hairdryer method's working really well. It's on hot and high. I think if I were to use the heat gun, it would probably like just be too much heat and it would really pull the paint off the wall. So highly recommend just a hairdryer and some patience. Oh. Didn't tear. Mid-wall issue. So there's a patch right here, what appears to be like a little nail hole. So just the paint's just separated off there. So we'll just probably just cut that out and patch. It's a big one. That's all right. All right, so here we have discovered the pencil line, which the previous tenant used to line up all the sheets of wallpaper. So they obviously knew what they were doing. We're gonna remove this pencil line just with a magic eraser. There's no point in going in and painting out this whole wall. We're just gonna go in and spot paint where needed, because there's not that many spots to begin with. So my tip for you guys is if you have like a bubble like this, it's sticking off the wall quite a bit. I could use my scraper and like scrape it off, but I'm going to just kind of cut a nice clean, just like gentle. I'm not cutting into the wall, I'm just cutting the paint. Doesn't have to be perfect because no one is ever gonna see this. And you can just peel that paint off to that line we just scored. See? You just wanna make sure all that loose paint. Oh, okay, well, anyways. But the point is, like, if you cut just like a nice shape, you're not gonna take off more paint than what's needed. So you're just creating like a nice little surface, no loose paint chips there, so that will sand down nicely. Then we have like a little nail hole here, so you're gonna wanna make sure you can either like cut into it, or you can just like kind of push it back into the wall or something, but then so we want that to be nice and flush. One more time. So I'm just kind of scoring that paint, cutting around that bubble, only removing the part that's giving us an issue. If I didn't do this, then this bubble might turn into like a patch that's like this big, you know? So we're just kind of containing the problem area and removing the problem paint. All right, the spackle that I'm gonna be using is this stuff called Drydex. If you've done any sort of like home improvement, you've probably seen this stuff. It's pink when it's wet and it's white when it's dry. So you know when it's okay to go back in and sand, which is really great. And the pink is just like a color that really stands off the wall quite a bit. So you can see, all right, just need to give it like another 5 minutes or something, or you can go in with a hair dryer and speed up the process until it turns white. And then my next tip is, in terms of like your putty knife, is like always just use a putty knife that's roughly around the size that you need to work with. And this just prevents like you putting too much spackle on the wall, and then you have to sand it all off, and then it's like you're creating more work than needed. So just if it's like a little nail hole, I'll just use my finger, and then you don't have to like sand this huge patch because you're using this big putty knife to like put it on and stuff.
That's a great tip.
I got this one from Home Depot, but you can get them from dollar store, and honestly, if you're a beginner, it's all the same. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just kind of like preliminarily just like put some on the wall to cover it. You don't have to be like shy about it, you just kind of like slap it on the wall, and you just want to like cover as much of that patch as possible. So if you put more on, then you can sand more off later. If you don't put enough, then you're gonna probably have to put more on later. So I kind of just do like a skim coat so that the whole area is kind of like covered in just enough that I can go in and just like sand a little bit down without really having to sand down the center. The patches that we're doing right now, we're not patching holes. So it's a very shallow patch that we're doing. So it's quite easy. It's like a one coater. You don't really have to spend too much time on it. So I just put it on the wall and then just kind of work it in so that the whole area plus some is covered. You can sand down the outside while leaving the inside kind of untouched. That's kind of like the goal. And another nail hole. This one's gonna be a little bit more tricky because I have the baseboard here. So I'm just covering the entire area. There. Okay, so say you're doing like a small little nail hole and you know, you're trying to patch it. You didn't use the finger technique like I told you before, which is okay. But even though you can't really see it, there is gonna be like spackle residue all around the nail hole, and you'll be able to see it. So if you are just patching a nail hole, just get like a damp cloth. No sandpaper needed. Because then like if you go in with sandpaper and try to sand that little nail hole down, you're gonna damage the paint and the sheen all around it, and then you're gonna have to actually like paint. So just the damp cloth and just a little bit of spackle is sometimes all you need. But yeah, it doesn't really work for like larger patches. Once you get good at it, you just go. All right, so now we just need to wait until it dries. These are already looking pretty dry, but there's a little bit of pink left. So probably about 20 minutes, half an hour. Then we can come in, give it a little quick sand, and then prime and paint.
20 minutes later.
Now that the spackle's dry, it's time to sand. And I find the best things to sand with are these like sanding blocks because it's a nice flat surface and it's comfortable to like grip onto. And it's just, you get like, I don't know, it's just like way better than like the little paper sheets of sandpaper. This just prevents like any like uneven pressure distribution because we don't want to like sand the center of the patch. We kind of want to sand like around the outside, and this just allows for just a nice even sand. Just kind of like feather it. And you can kind of see the outline of where we cut out. So that's probably all we need to really sand. So it's like kind of feathered, so it's like really, really thin on the outside and then thicker on the middle. And then another tip is use your flashlight. You can like see all the shadows, so you know that we have to sand that one quite a bit, but then this is the one that we just sanded. So it's nice and smooth, and that will be hidden pretty well. This is all the texture from the paintbrush. So once we roll a couple coats of paint on there, it'll be nice and hidden. And so yeah, I usually just sand with the flashlight on. Just kind of sanding on the edges, and then in the center. Nice. And here we were a little messy. We got some on the baseboard, but that's okay, because it has a nice clean edge. Don't want to sand too much, I'll leave it there. Then we have the magic eraser too, and this is great just for removing. We got this pencil line here. If you ever used a magic eraser before, you know it leaves like a little white residue behind. So I just kind of have a damp cloth here, and then I'll just kind of blend in like where I've scrubbed. Just because like there might be like dust on certain parts of your wall, and then when you magic erase it, we'll leave just like a nice clean strip. So I just kind of like wipe it down. Now we're gonna prime all of the places that we've sanded. So I'm using shellac-based primer because it dries to touch in like less than 15 minutes, like almost instantaneously. It's great for quick little patch jobs like this where you kind of need to work in a hurry. Also, if you're doing this at home, you can do this whole thing in like an afternoon. You just roll it on, and you don't want to like mess with it too much because you could peel that patch off the wall. You're re-wetting the patch. We're adding some texture, so you just want to make sure that you're kind of like feathering that texture in a little bit, so you're kind of hiding that patch as the best you can. So you just feather, get rid of any high marks from the roller up here. You don't want your roller like too wet. We're just trying to put as little paint as possible just to seal the patches that we just did. I also went crazy and just patched more than I should have. Okay, so now it's time to put paint on the wall. Primer is dry. I literally went to the other end and I could come back and work on it. That's how quickly that primer dries. This is just the same paint that the landlord had on hand, which is great. And I'm just gonna make sure I cover all the area that I primed. I'm gonna go in like heavy in the center. Just kind of like let the roller do the work, and then you just kind of like fan it out. So you don't want just like a square. You want it to be like almost like a gradient where there's like no paint, lots of paint, and then like in between.
Why? Because it will camouflage?
It'll camouflage a lot better. There. I'm sure it looks pretty stark on camera, but when it dries, it will dry the same. Hey guys, it's the next day, and the walls look really great. You can't really tell where the patches were. It looks incredible. My goal with patching a wall is like not to make it look perfect. Like you're not gonna like have like a flashlight and like go over like every single square inch of the wall and like look for issues, but if someone were to come down here and look at the walls, they wouldn't know that A, there was wallpaper up on the wall, and B, that we had to patch and paint. Yeah, it looks really great. I guess now is like the time of the video where I talk about like what I learned and what I do differently. It went pretty well. I mean, I knew there'd be some issues near the edges of the walls. Maybe I could have taken a little bit more time, applied a little bit more heat, been a little bit more careful, but at the same time, it's like you have to weigh your time and your patience, and you gotta weigh your like time, what your time's worth. Because I could spend like days making this wall look perfect, or I could spend like 2.5 hours yesterday. In fact, we made this wall even better than when we found it because there's a whole bunch of like little nail holes in the walls, and we patched those too. So I feel like we did a really great job here. And hopefully you guys learned a couple tips and tricks so you can tackle your walls and hopefully get your safety deposit back in case you put up wallpaper or peel and stick tile or put holes in the walls or whatever. Let me know if this helps you in the comments down below, and yeah, I look forward to hearing from you guys and see if you actually applied anything that you learned in this video. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.